What if the King of England made a decision so cold, so calculated, so devastating that it could erase his own son from royal history one signature at a time? What if Prince Harry's greatest enemy was not the tabloids, not politics, not even exile in California, but silence from inside the palace itself? Because behind closed gates, behind polished smiles and ceremonial waves, whispers are exploding about one phrase that has royal watchers frozen: the Sandringham order. This is not being described as one dramatic punishment. No screaming confrontation, no public humiliation, no explosive press conference. That would be too messy, too obvious. No, this is something far more dangerous. A slow tightening of the net, a careful dismantling, piece by piece, privilege by privilege, protection by protection, until one day the man once born a prince wakes up and realizes the title is all that remains, and even that may be next. Why Sandringham? Why does that name send chills through royal circles? Because Sandringham is not just another estate. It is one of the monarchy's most private strongholds, where decisions are made far away from cameras, reporters, and public noise. The kind of place where history is rewritten in whispers. The kind of place where family matters become state matters. And insiders claim that what began there may now be unfolding in full view. Look at the pattern. King Charles has reportedly been pushing reforms to slim down the monarchy, increase financial transparency, and remove royal privileges from those who no longer serve as working royals. Sounds administrative, doesn't it? Sounds reasonable. But ask yourself one question. Who fits that description perfectly? Living in California, outside palace duty, publicly critical of the institution, commercializing royal fame. Prince Harry. Suddenly these reforms look less like modernization and more like a target list. And Harry knows it, because this is not theory anymore. The first blow has already landed. His security battle in Britain became the moment many realized just how far the split had gone. Harry fought for years to regain taxpayer-funded police protection in the UK. He argued threats were real. He argued his family remained vulnerable. He argued that being born royal should still mean something when danger appears. But the court delivered a brutal message: you stepped away, so the automatic shield went with it. That ruling was bigger than security. It was symbolic warfare. Every senior royal arrives protected by institution, authority, and status. Harry now returns differently, case by case, conditional, assessed, limited. Imagine that humiliation. A man raised inside palace walls, once surrounded by guards, now treated like a visiting outsider requesting temporary access. The message was not subtle. It screamed through legal language: you are no longer central. Then came the line that shook observers everywhere. Harry revealed his father would not speak to him because of this security stuff. Let that sink in. A son publicly saying the king, battling illness, will not take his cause over a dispute tied to safety and trust. This is no normal family disagreement. This is fracture at the highest level. A private wound bleeding in public. And once you see that fracture, every other move looks different. Was the security loss just a legal outcome or part of a broader message? Was Charles protecting constitutional boundaries or drawing emotional boundaries too? Is the palace refusing Harry because of protocol or because forgiveness has expired? These questions matter because monarchy runs on symbols, and silence can be sharper than swords. Then there is Prince William. Sources continue to paint a future king with far less patience than his father. Charles may still carry the instincts of a parent. William carries the instincts of an heir protecting the crown's future. That difference changes everything. Reports claim William wants a leaner monarchy with no room for chaos, rebellion, or long-distance royals cashing in from overseas. If true, Harry is not just a brother in conflict. He is a problem to be solved. And if William sees Harry as a threat to stability, then the countdown may already be ticking. Because once succession changes hands, sentiment changes too. Charles may hesitate. William may not. Charles may hope for reconciliation. William may prefer finality. Charles may see a son. William may see a liability. That is the shadow hanging over every headline now. Meanwhile, Harry's world outside Britain is hardly secure. Money deals once celebrated as triumphant independence have cooled. Media contracts have shifted. Projects slowed. Public sympathy divided. And when influence weakens, vulnerability grows. Palace strategists understand timing better than anyone. They know you do not strike when opponents are strongest. You wait. You let gravity do the work. That may be the most chilling part of this alleged Sandringham strategy. It does not need dramatic attacks. It only needs patience. Let lawsuits drain energy. Let distance weaken bonds. Let finances tighten. Let titles feel ornamental. Let public opinion fracture. Then, when the final move comes, it looks inevitable. And what final move are people whispering about? Title removal. Formal exclusion. Harry no longer styled as Duke, Duke, no longer protected by mystique, no longer royal in anything but blood. For now, nothing is final, but patterns are speaking louder than announcements. Doors close quietly before they lock loudly, and if the first phase was security, what comes next may be far more permanent. Then comes the question that turns palace gossip into full-blown panic. Can a prince lose everything with nothing more than paperwork? Because while people imagine crowns, ceremonies, and dramatic declarations, modern royal punishment may arrive through stamped documents, sealed envelopes, and public notices nobody notices until it is too late. And that is why insiders keep circling one phrase with nervous intensity: letters patent, a dry legal term with explosive power. This is how titles can be altered, removed, reshaped, not with shouting, not with revenge speeches, with procedure, with signatures, with authority wrapped in tradition. The same system reportedly used to strip status from Prince Andrew after scandal now hangs like a shadow over Harry's future. That comparison alone is stunning. Andrew fell through disgrace. Harry may fall through estrangement. Different roads, same destination, distance from the crown. Imagine the headline one morning: no warning, no dramatic teaser. Just formal language announcing that certain styles, dignities, or privileges no longer apply. The world would read it over coffee while Harry wakes thousands of miles away in California to discover that history has moved without him. That is the brutal efficiency of institutions. They do not need emotion when they possess mechanism. And Harry's greatest weakness may be the story he once told himself, that blood alone would protect him forever. Because for generations, royal identity meant permanence. You were born into it. You remained in it. Even scandals rarely erased lineage. But this monarchy is changing. Slimmer, sharper, more image conscious, less tolerant of contradiction. If the palace believes non-working royals damage brand value while monetizing family drama abroad, then titles stop looking sacred and start looking negotiable. Now add the money crisis. When Harry and Meghan left royal life, they promised freedom, independence, a new empire built on their own terms. And at first, the numbers looked dazzling. Massive streaming deals, publishing success, global attention, speaking fees, endless headlines. It looked like exile had become opportunity. But glamour can hide fragility. Big contracts demand constant output. Public fascination cools fast. Audiences move on. Brands calculate coldly. Spotify collapsed. Netflix reportedly changed shape. Future deals became less certain, less guaranteed, less grand. Staff reductions surfaced. Business questions multiplied. Suddenly, the couple once framed as unstoppable began looking like a venture facing investor fatigue. That matters because money was not just comfort. It was leverage. It funded lawyers, image teams, production power, independence from palace pressure. When leverage shrinks, vulnerability expands. The monarchy understands power in all its forms: symbolic power, financial power, emotional power, timing power. If Harry is weaker commercially than he was in 2021, then any confrontation now becomes riskier for him than for them. That is why some observers believe the palace never needed to attack. It only needed to wait for momentum to fade. And then there is the most painful battlefield of all: father and son. Harry publicly admitted he does not know how much time his father has left and said reconciliation would be nice. Those words were not political. They were raw. A son speaking through cameras because private doors appear closed. A king battling illness while maintaining distance. Two men surrounded by staff, security, privilege, and history, unable to bridge a conversation. It is tragic and astonishing at the same time. What does Charles feel in private? Hurt? Anger? Exhaustion? Regret? Does he miss Harry and resent him simultaneously? Does he want peace but refuse conditions? Nobody outside those walls truly knows, but public signals remain icy. Palace responses have been measured, legalistic, detached. No warmth, no emotional olive branch, just institutional language. Sometimes bureaucracy is simply grief wearing armor. Then comes the future nobody wants to say out loud. What happens when William becomes king? That is where whispers turn brutal. Commentators speculate that whatever restraint Charles shows could vanish overnight. William is repeatedly described as more disciplined, more protective of the crown, less willing to indulge family chaos. If Charles delays punishment out of paternal feeling, William may feel no such obligation. For him, the issue may be cleaner: preserve the monarchy, remove distractions, close unresolved chapters, and that could mean Harry loses far more than styling. Invitations could shrink, access could disappear, roles would be impossible, the children's titles could face scrutiny, ceremonial presence could vanish. Family moments could become official exclusions. Imagine the symbolism if Harry attends future state moments not as central bloodline royalty, but as a distant relative with awkward seating and no defined place. Even funeral talk has surfaced in commentary circles, with suggestions Harry could face restrictions or humiliations around major family events. Whether true or exaggerated, the fact such scenarios are now believable tells you everything about how broken trust has become. Years ago, unthinkable. Now, discussable. That shift alone is seismic. So what is the Sandringham order really? Perhaps not a literal decree. Perhaps not one document hidden in a drawer. Perhaps it is something colder, a strategy of consequences unfolding across time. Security withdrawn, cause unanswered, titles questioned, finances pressured, distance normalized, return paths narrowed. A royal exit managed so slowly the public mistakes it for fate. And Harry? He may still believe one conversation can change everything. One apology, one illness scare, one family moment, one private meeting that melts years of frost. But institutions rarely move backward once they choose direction, especially ancient ones built to survive emotion, scandal, and sentiment alike. That is why this story feels unfinished, because no final signature has dropped, no definitive break has been announced, no last door has visibly slammed. Yet the atmosphere says something huge is still moving behind the walls. The son is outside, the father is silent, the brother waits in line, and somewhere in the distance, history is sharpening its pen.